Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to another special edition of Leaders Insight by Forbes Middle East. I'm Omar, and today we are joined from Dubai by Caspar Herzberg, the president of Schneider Electric, Middle East and Africa. Caspar, thanks for joining us.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you for having me, really.
So, Caspar, very quickly, I wanted to start by talking about obviously something that is nearly impossible to escape these days, which is COVID-19. And I want to talk about a leadership perspective. When it comes to the leadership of Schneider Electric, how have you guys managed to cope? How has this affected you guys in general?
I mean, there's two aspects, really. There is how you approach a crisis as a leader, as a management team, and what the crisis does to your organization, to your customers, to the world that you provide your services, sell your goods in, right? So when we first heard in earnest of what was happening, I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out what is actually on. So my first advice is on, in that respect, actually, to stay very calm and to really understand what this could mean, scenario play, create different scenarios of what this might mean. I have to say that reality overtook some of these scenarios. That is for sure. But we started fairly early, and we then devised a plan on how to deal with it. That plan did see a large part of the workforce work from home fairly early, while keeping our manufacturing sites, our distribution centers, and especially our customer-facing services engineers on the job. And then we were also rather fortunate that we quickly and early on understood that you had to get protective equipment. And we did bring that, and we did distribute that across Middle East and Africa, allowing the engineers to work. Because one thing I should say is, for us, I mean, we maintain critical infrastructure, literally keeping the lights on. And that, of course, puts an extra burden on the employees.
What are some of the major challenges that you guys actually encountered during this era of COVID-19 in terms of, as you said, keeping the lights on?
Well, I mean, one is to make sense of the overload of information that we are getting, because of course we're getting information, via news networks. We're getting now a lot of information on WhatsApp. We're getting a lot of mouth-to-mouth information, phone calls. So actually figuring out what does it mean, what is wise to do, what is not wise to do. Do you stop travel early? We did. It was not a very popular move when we did that. But basically figuring out the right course early on was a bit muddied. And I have to say that actually paid out to ultimately follow official guidance, whether that's the WHO or some of our governments, because generally that proved to be the most reliable source of information. So the first one was to figure out what is really going on. The second one, of course, was how to keep the supply chain going, how to protect engineers, how to update the protocols that we have in place when people do become sick, because some of our employees, of course, did become infected. So we had to take the right measures early on to protect, for example, the workplace, the factories. We did that very successfully, which means that by and large, to this date, we've not really had major shortfalls, neither in service nor products for our customers to date. So the lights are on.
Excellent. Now, Schneider Electric is quite involved and is quite active when it comes to green and sustainable development. How has this situation of COVID-19 affected the sustainable developments or green developments?
I think two things have happened, right? I think that on the one hand, people generally have learned, have realized, have appreciated how quickly nature became green again, or how the air became clear, how all across the world, and also in this region, because people are indoors and economic activity is lower, that the overall environment has become much more pleasant, right? So I think there is no reason why that can't be maintained when we go back to work. And I think that means that there's going to be much more focus on how we can grow economically while not destroying the planet. So I think this is one area.
Schneider Electric is quite active when it comes to online education, educating people about sustainable energy and so on. Who is this for, and how can people access it?
It's basically an online university. We call it Energy University. It's for students, teachers, engineers, business owners, anyone who wants to learn about energy management. It's basically available in 14 languages, including English, Arabic, and French. Has more than 150 online courses in energy efficiency and data center management, focused on infrastructure, industry, buildings, residential, and so on. The courses are short, not more than 1 hour each. They can be taken anywhere, although I think many people will now take them at home. It's basically gives you certifications, including Data Center Certified Associate, DCCA, and the Professional Energy Manager.
Now, besides being involved in the online education in the university, you guys are also quite active and involved when it comes to social responsibility. Can you tell us a little bit more about those initiatives as well?
At Schneider, we believe that access to safe, reliable energy is a basic human right? I mean, this is our mantra. And what that basically means is that we provide to disadvantaged communities, to places that need it, both the technology and also the training on how to operate this technology. So let me give you an example. It's a village in Egypt's western desert, El Hiyaz, where we implemented solar panels that power submersible pumps, right? They produce quite a lot of water, about 328,000 cubic meters of water, watering 140 acres of agricultural land.
Okay, what's next for Schneider Electric? What are some of the exciting things that we can look forward in terms of any initiatives?
Well, I see that electrification, especially in Africa, is going to accelerate. So that's, you may know that in Africa, 700 million people are still without electricity. And clearly what the COVID-19 situation has done has put that really top into people's minds. Because without electricity, these people are hard to train. They find it difficult to access, the online education that we've just mentioned. They have even more basic issues such as access to clean water and so on. So electrifying Africa, distributing energy in Africa is going to be a massive task and focus for Schneider Electric.
Okay, looking at the region today, the UAE and the surrounding region, who do we see that's more involved in terms of sustainable energy, and who's quite active on it?
I mean, clearly in the UAE, both Dubai and Abu Dhabi, with the large solar-powered fields, the solar fields have been very active and will probably increase activity in this place. DIVA, for example, has rolled out thousands of solar-powered solutions for homeowners where they can generate their own electricity through solar power. And then in the future, I see that moving towards feeding some of that back into the grid. So I do see that.
Bit of a trick question. Do you think it's possible for the entire world at some point to actually become 100% sustainable? And if so, when, in your opinion, do you foresee that happening?
It's definitely possible. I mean, logically, it is possible. I don't think we have much choice other than to solve that in this generation. And that is also this generation of decision makers. Because I think that what has happened in the last couple of years, we are very focused right now on COVID-19. But when you're looking at global warming, when you're looking at increased desertification, so more deserts, when you look at the droughts that have come to Europe, to Australia, to major economies, I don't think that we have a choice but to become sustainable as a planet.
Any final words for leaders, presidents, CEOs out there, whether SMEs or corporations, in terms of how to combat the current difficult situations and how they can actually move forward and sustain their operations. Any final words from yourself?
Thank you for asking me this question. I think that looking at this is clearly a very stressful situation for many of our employees and many of our managers. And I think it's very important when we set goals for them, business goals for the next year, the next 2 years, that we, of course, take the current situation into account. I don't not demand the impossible. And secondly, also make sure that the emotional well-being, the emotional health of our employees is fully taken into account. Because being confined for many weeks, possibly many months, is a difficult experience for a lot of people. And I think being very close to your leaders, very close to your people, guiding them through that with a healthy sense of duty, of dedication, but also a good sense of humor, is very important. So one thing I really appreciate is sharing on WhatsApp the many thousand jokes that are coming out of this situation. Whether I do that with my team or with some of our customers, I find that a fantastic release in this day and age.
Well, it's definitely good to know that a sense of humor exists amongst large corporations, especially during these difficult times. So that's excellent news. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Caspar Herzberg, President of Schneider Electric, Middle East and Africa. We'll see you in the next episode.